everyone, and welcome to the rundown. So we said we would, of course, come back if there was any significant new news, and kind of all there is. Donald Trump has finished what we believe is the last of the signings that he's going to do today. He has signed them in front of a rally, in front of an audience at the, was it the Capital One Arena, something like that. So we're going to get into what he has signed and what we know about it. There's so much, it's a little hard to unpack all of it. He is on his way. In fact, we believe he has arrived at the Oval Office. He has said that upon arriving, he is going to sign pardons for every one of the nonviolent January 6 offenders and commutations for every one of the violent ones. What this means is, if the pardons mean that they're out, it's done, it's as if they never committed the crime. For the commutations, what it just means is they committed the crime, but they don't have to serve a sentence. There's no punishment if the sentence is commuted. He has, this we believe he is doing really as we speak. With me today is a Zandering, and we're expecting Commander McMillan and possibly a Mowdy later on. So, thoughts, Zandering?
This isn't much of a surprise, though I can't believe you drug me away from my Twilight marathon to talk more about the Marmalade Mussolini.
He's not as marmalade as he used to be. I don't know what has happened there, but somebody has changed his makeup.
Yeah, it's probably not spray tanning quite so much anymore. The doctors are probably like, "Hey, you're going to get skin cancer. Stop it."
Why Twilight?
Because that's a better story than Donald Trump's
fair enough.
Second term.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say. It's just a better story, more believable.
Yeah. Oh dear Lord. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. So the WhiteHouse.gov website has actually had a hard time keeping up with all the executive orders that he has put out. One of them revoked 76 previous executive orders from the Biden administration. We're going to get into some of the ones that were revoked and what we think it means, but honestly, we can't go over all 76. We're right now on In Time on the Discord. If you want to go, Dorito's been doing a spectacular job of going through them. We have a Donald Trump area right now, but there's so much that it's going to be days, I think, for people to unpack what he's done on his first day. And believe me, I don't think he's close to being done. We do know that he's, well, let's see, actually, I want to see if because I need to get the name of the department right. So, yeah, it was the Capital One Arena. We'll talk about the how he's apparently saved everybody $50,000. He has removed all of the senior leadership from the Justice Department's Immigration Office. So he has fired the everybody at the Executive Office of Review at the Immigration Office. Now, what this office does is it makes sure that immigration judges are properly determining whether an immigrant can remain in the U.S. or has to be deported. So it's the entire department that is in charge of overseeing immigration judges and making sure that they're acting appropriately. That entire department is gone. Now, this has never happened before. Most of the people there are career public servants. They've been there for 20 or more years through numerous administrations, and their work is nonpartisan. Their job is to just, whatever the law is, make sure that that law is being enforced. That's all they do. They don't change the laws. They don't put their own opinions into it. Their job is to make sure that judges are following the legal guidelines. That department is now vacant. There's also a hiring freeze. So nobody at the Justice Department can hire anybody, cannot replace any of these people. He has issued a hiring freeze on the federal level. We'll get to that in a minute. but that is one of his executive orders. The other thing that
now when I'd heard that they fired everybody, I was like, oh, maybe this is a great chance for me to, slip into another career path and get out of trucking and maybe go into government. And then I also found out that he did a hiring freeze, so I was like, so much for that idea.
Day one, he's already screwed you over. They've also shut down the Spanish version of the White House website. You can no longer view the White House website in Spanish if that is your native tongue. You can obviously get Google Translate or any other number of services, but most websites have a Spanish or versions for other languages. We've all seen them. It's /EN for English, ES for Spanish, whatever. The Spanish version of the White House website is gone. We don't know yet whether this is permanent or temporary. My suspicion, and this is probably biased, but my suspicion is it's permanent. I don't think they have any intention of bringing it back. I think they want to make English the only language in the United States, the U.S. official language. I think they don't see a reason to have it in Spanish. The other alternative is there's so much going on they can barely keep up with the English version. And that they've taken the Spanish version down until, at a minimum, they can get the English version up to specs. They have successfully done the Trump promo that we showed that was somewhat disturbing. That they were able to do, but you think they'd do that in Spanish too and intimidate our Spanish allies? I don't know. But so already now, Trump told us quite clearly that he was for Project 2025. Then he explained quite clearly he had never heard of Project 2025. Then he explained that he had heard of 2025, of course, because he's not stupid, but he had nothing to do with 2025, even though his administration worked closely with the Heritage Foundation in making 2025, presumably got his approval for it, and all of it assumed that Trump would go along, and he was named in it, like 1,000 some odd times. And then said, after winning, he didn't say, but someone else said, okay, now we can stop pretending, of course, Trump had everything to do with 2025. Now, I don't know if that means that Trump had anything to do with 2025, but I do know that he is following the playbook. The elimination of the Spanish version of the White House website is unfortunate, at a minimum. The withdrawal from of the U.S. from the Paris Peace Accords. He has also, as I said earlier, eliminated, I think it was 76 of the of previous executive orders from the Biden administration. Now, establishment of an interagency task force on reunification of families is one. Now, this would be in keeping with his goal of reducing the workforce, but this was a task force on reunifying families that had been broken up at the border, something that even he had said was an abomination. It's not to help immigrants in the U.S., or help people immigrate to the U.S., it's to get families back together after we broke them up. That's gone. Refugee impact, planning, impact of climate change, migration. Let's see what else. Establishment of the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court of the United States is gone. Climate-related financial risk, revocation of presidential actions, a White House initiative on advancing educational equality, excellence, and economic opportunity for Native Americans and strengthening tribal colleges and universities has been overturned. Implementation of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Non-displacement of qualified workers under service contracts. So he is eliminated, it's a long list. You can find it on our Discord. He has also repealed Schedule F. This was one of the things that we had said was actually the nightmare scenario, was the repeal of Schedule F. Schedule F, very simply, stated that you needed to have some form of cause before firing a federal worker. The reason for this was simple. There are, as we've said before, there's thousands of people working for the federal government, and most of them not in positions of power, just executing the orders given from the executive branch. This would include the entire department that Trump just laid off. Everything from just ensuring that any of the regulations or guidelines that have been created by the executive branch or created ostensibly by the three-letter agencies, so empowered by Congress. I'm not going to get into that today. At any rate, these people stay through administrations. Alan Greenspan was brought on by the first Bush, stayed on through the Clinton administration, if I recall, and stayed on through the second Bush. So, even some of the higher level positions, they're not political appointments. Now, there are plenty of people who serve at the pleasure of the president and must necessarily do so. You want the head of your Justice Department to be ideologically aligned with you so that you can mold the Justice Department into what you, as the head of the executive, think is justice. I do get that, even if I don't agree with the policies being enacted. But 90% of the people who work at the Justice Department simply do as they're told by their higher-ups. That's it. So Schedule F said, if they're incompetent, if they do something wrong, you want to fire them for that, you can, but you have to have cause. You can, and cause does not include political ideology. One of the things that 2025 essentially proposed was making it so you had to pass a loyalty test to work at any level of the government. You had to be loyal to Donald Trump. This is exactly what happened in Nazi Germany right after Hitler became chancellor. Everybody below him had to begin signing pledges loyal, not to the chancellor, but to Hitler himself. Klaus von Strassenberg, who very nearly assassinated Hitler with Project Valkyrie. Did I get that wrong? It sounded like you were about to say something. Did I mispronounce the... Yep. Klaus von Strassenberg pointed out that, in his view, assassinating Hitler was perfectly legal because he was no longer chancellor, and his loyalty was to the chancellor and to Germany, not to the individual. The whole point of having non-political people working under your political appointees is so that you have people who are experienced. They've been there for decades. They know what they're doing. They can navigate through all of the paperwork, navigate the bureaucracy, and aren't going to mess with the political infrastructure. You leave that to your appointees. This changes all of that. This means that any person can get, is NOAA? Yes, it is. NOAA is in that, it's any federal, and NOAA was actually, I forget why there was a concern about NOAA in particular, but what this means is he can instruct all of his cabinet level positions to say, you're going to find out who's, quote, loyal to us and who isn't. And anybody who's not MAGA, they can just kick out. And even good members, and by good, I just mean people who are loyal to like the Constitution or the way government works, won't be able to hire anybody back or hire anybody who isn't loyal to MAGA because there's now a hiring freeze. Before I continue, any thoughts on this so far, Isander? If you're still connected. Oh, and Christopher Mowdy has joined us, so let me put him into the show.
Okay. Yeah, I was just about to say two things, and I realized I was muted.
Oh, all right.
To one point, we've already gotten to the venerable Christopher Mowdy has joined us. But the other point is just a minor clarification that Schedule F didn't do this for the entire government. It's created a new category of workers that were protected under this Schedule F so that they couldn't just be dismissed wholesale.
Okay, that is, but I think that new category was the what was basically most federal workers. Is that not correct? Or
it was what they considered, if I recall correctly, all of the debates about this, is what they considered kind of the required people for the government to function.
Yes. All right, and I do have Mouty is now in the show. The thing is, he's got the little rundown thing over him, so I will clarify that. But we can hear you, and I can see you at least. Christopher, welcome to the show. How are you? Oh,
you're looking very rural,
and
Mr. Mouty. You're muted. I don't know if you can hear any of us. I don't think he can hear us.
Oh, could be me. You know
He's
what?
Muted.
Okay.
No, we can't hear him either.
Hold on 1 second.
Production at its finest.
You know what? I don't recall asking you your opinion.
I mean, we should have expected this. I mean, after all, we had this exact same problem when I came in, except we were before the show. We got that worked out.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to move him into the other one, and then and now my mouse isn't working. Oh, and of course, this is the same time I can see him. I can't. The problem is this is going to need 1 second, and then we are good.
I'm I'm both surprised and not surprised while you're working on this.
Yeah.
That Trump's doing away with Schedule F. There was a lot of speculation that he would. And then, of course, there was some other people, me included, were like, I don't think he's really going to do this. At least I think we can hear Mr.
Yeah, I heard him. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well. Xandring, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but as far as Schedule F goes, fuck Schedule F. Trump needs a big fucking dose of vitamin F. Fuck him. So, Here's my 2 cents. No one asked, and I don't care. What I'm seeing is the fucking Republicans are trying to turn the world into the one that they perceive they've been living in for the past few decades, right? According to them, liberal media has been pushing our points on them, the hardworking people who are doing the grit work while the elites tell them how they're supposed to behave through all of this messaging and media and TV shows and shit you can't get away from. Now the world is filled with podcasts, filled with fucking meathead, red pilling dipshits that have splintered the mediascape so that we don't have 3 main channels that are liberal and telling you what to do. We have a zillion little fucking bubbles where everybody is getting the information that they want. And since that's the most popular form of media, we as liberals are kind of living in the world that the right thought they were living in before, right? That's what this all seems like to me. Hey, we lived in a world that was bilingual. Fuck that shit. Let's leave the Spanish version of the White House off of the thing. Hey, we wanted these things, right, to be like the way it was. You know, hey, let's keep women away and blacks segregated and this, that, and the other. And like they're trying to bring America back to this world that it never was with today's technology, and it's because their fucking diapers are wet, because they've had to live for the past few decades in a progressive reality, and that chaps their fucking ass. All right, I'm done.
Well, I think
I have to say your choice of attire for this rant is like spot on.
Like it? Do you like the color?
I like it.
You like my?
I do.
It's what I should have been wearing earlier. I would not have been accused of
flannel.
You would not believe what they accused me of earlier. You heard. Oh, good.
We've accused you of nothing. We simply pointed out what you were clearly, very clearly, through your choice of attire, supporting. So, Sorry.
God.
Yeah, the ball cap, the flannel. Oh.
Yep. Hey, well,
Chef's kiss.
all I know is that Nick went through more wardrobe changes than Prince on the last broadcast.
A couple. Well, I told Commander McMillan next time I'm going to wear fuchsia, and then we can see what he can do about that. Or should have gone.
I
with
was
the
waiting
plaid.
for him to come back with no shirt, but
No, I was. Yeah. No, well, I told Titan, and there's very few old guard here that would know. I said I was going to maybe pull a drag, and for 90% of the audience, they would think I'd be on women's clothing. Titan was like, "Don't you dare do it!" I was just like, "Yeah, that would not be appropriate, I think, for this show." All right, so I do think, and this is something I've said before, I Leave It to Beaver. I never watched it. I was never a fan. It was too saccharine for me. But having said that, for some reason, every Republican that I've met on some level or another seems to want to go back to the Leave It to Beaver version of America, which, as it turns out, never even existed. That was only a television show. That wasn't real. And things were never like that. And this idea that in the good old days, I mean, by the way, the wealthiest Americans back, like the Rockefellers, his son still died of diseases. I think it was tuberculosis, actually. I forget what it was. I know it's curable today. It didn't matter how much, even the richest Americans back going that far, not that far back, still didn't do as well in many cases as modern Americans who have more free time, have more to do with that free time, and make more money on average than they did 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Golly gee whiz, Mr. Suter. You mean to tell me that Mr. Reverend Mowdy has an actual point?
Oh, Andy. That's my Don Knotts impersonation. Yeah, well, let's also keep in mind that the beaver cleaver mentality is merely the social dynamics. If they really wanted beaver to cleaver time, then awesome. Let's get rich people paying tons of taxes above $250,000 or $1 million, because that thriving world they're talking about was before the monetary American standard was devalued from gold or detethered from gold or whatever. So like the world that they're talking about is just this cherry-picked version of a toxic masculine utopia where daddy knows best.
A white toxic masculine utopia, because back then they don't tell you what it was like to be black back then. That's not on that TV show.
Oh, well, they were telling you, right? They were doing it implicitly. There were clear boundaries for other people, so they couldn't set them for themselves.
Yeah.
He said he didn't.
Marco Rubio has been confirmed. We mentioned earlier. No, we didn't mention earlier. It's on the Discord. Has been confirmed as Secretary of State. He has just made an announcement saying that the Russia-Ukraine war, quote, needs to end, and each side will have to give up something. That is Marco Rubio as of about 15 minutes ago. Also, Trump, as we said earlier, we had expected him to pardon the January 6 rioters. He now has. His pardon covers over 1,500 people. It drops all charges that are currently being prosecuted by the Justice Department against any of the January 6th rioters. All those who were convicted of nonviolent offenses have been pardoned. All those who were convicted of violent offenses have had their sentences commuted and will be released. On Twitter, we have a number of people, being delighted over it. I'm seeing a few that have been dropped here. Oh my God, thank you. My son is free. My son is being released. Obviously, parents of and family of. It was a crime, right? I mean, this is the law and order. Holy smoke. In addition, let's see, there's, he has, okay, trying to figure out what else. Well, how about, somebody had pointed out, he has issued an executive order delivering emergency price relief for American families and defeating the cost of living crisis. in this executive order, he claims that Biden's regulatory oppression has caused an estimated $50,000 in costs to the average American household. And yeah, that's 50,000, and that he is going to reduce that by at least 11,000 per household. Oh no, sorry. Wait a minute. Whereas my first term agenda reduced, I hope he's not thinking that he's going to have another term after this. He has ordered all executive departments and agencies to deliver emergency price relief. This includes lowering the cost of housing and expanding the housing supply, because that never caused a problem in the past. Eliminate unnecessary administrative expenses and rent-seeking practices that increase healthcare costs. Eliminating counterproductive requirements that raise the cost of home appliances. Creating employment opportunities for American workers, including drawing discouraged workers back into the labor force. Eliminating harmful, coercive, quote, climate policies that increase the cost of food and fuel, and he wants a report on that within 30 days from his department. He has repealed the ban on Arctic drilling. He has repealed, in fact, all the bans that I'm aware of on offshore drilling. So this would, I think this opens up the, the tar sands project. I'm going to have to look. I mean, there's a huge number, but basically, I find it interesting that he says he hates the windmill farms because they destroy nature and its beauty, but he's okay with destroying Alaska, which presumably he thinks still belongs to Russia. Any thoughts, anybody?
Wow.
Yeah. That's a mouthful. I'm not quite sure what he thinks he's going to accomplish going through, unless he's planning on actually, fulfilling everybody's worst nightmare about him, never leaving office again. I don't see how just reversing all of the bans can be anything for drilling bans, or can be anything but showmanship, because it takes a hell of a lot longer from saying, okay, we're going to open this up, to getting bids, to getting permits, to getting equipment moved out there. This is a decade-long process, and when in 4 years it can all be revoked, there aren't very many people out there willing to put the kind of money into the infrastructure building projects to get these new energy projects off the ground. So some of this stuff, I'm like, I don't quite understand. Do we know how this works at all, or are you just pandering at this point? And I've got to imagine he's more or less pandering. I can't. I've had this assumption that he's not quite that stupid. I know he's not surrounded by a whole bunch of really stupid people either. So at least somebody there has to know that this is the case. And so this has got to just be showmanship at this point. Or maybe just more and more stuff. The more things he can throw out there, whether it actually is meaningful or not. I mean, if going on, opening all that stuff up, you will get a lot of people saying, okay, let's put together some plans to see, what kind of viability this may have. And then, going into the midterms, going into the next presidential election, if it looks like Republicans are still way up and are possibly going to win again, then they might pull the trigger, having set up for the previous 4 years to get everything, because they're like, okay, well, now we're going to have at least, a kind of an 8-year window. But I mean, to me, this just signifies that he's throwing as much crap out there as he possibly can, as fast as he can. Some of the stuff I really honestly didn't think that he would do. I mean, so many people right now can laugh at me, point and say, we told you he was going to do this. And I'm like, I was pretty skeptical that some of the stuff he would actually do, because it just sounded so ridiculous. It's like, no, he's not going to step that far out of line. And I appear to be proven incorrect on many of the things that I said. I don't really think that he's going to do that.
He has begun signing executive orders again. As of this moment, he is signing them from the White House. He says that these are, quote, the big ones. So let's go over some of the ones that he is signing. He has previously signed, just as a reminder, one, ending birthright citizenship. Apparently he has something else pertaining to that he's about to sign again. Now, again, because that's in the Constitution, he cannot end that by executive order. Nonetheless, it's staggering that he's attempting to. He has signed a executive order saying that tariffs are to be imposed on both Mexico and Canada starting February 1st. He said that it will be 25% tariffs on imports from the United States' neighbors to the north and to the south. So that is a 25%. It looks like 25% universal tariffs from Canada and Mexico. It has been speculated that one of the reasons Trudeau resigned was because he didn't want to have to deal with what would happen if Trump issued such a tariff. It is widely held that any significant tariff against Canada, which they will have to reply to equally, so they will put a 25% tariff against us. We can withstand it. Our economy can withstand it. Canada's not so much. So he has also signed an executive action expanding so previously he had declared an emergency at the border and that he had designated cartels as terrorist organizations, the point of which is that he can deploy the military not only on the wall, but apparently now he is, and he had suggested that he would do this before, that this is being reported as a preface excuse to invade Mexican soil. Wow. So tariffs and what appears to be okay. Yep, thank you.
Mr. English teacher, I would kind of like to point out that it's generally not called preface, but rather preface.
Oh, I meant to say prima facie.
I have to be
prima facie.
Okay, prima facie. Okay. Well, then you use the entirely incorrect word. I have to point this.
Do it a lot. No, you don't.
I have to point this out because if I don't get petty and give you shit about stupid things like that, I might start screaming and not stop. It would drag me back away from my Twilight marathon because I didn't want to deal with this shit right now, and I wanted a little few things to settle and see how bad it was actually going to be, or possibly are we maybe going to get some good stuff thrown in there? And now you're making me look at all of this stuff now, and so you're going to get pedantic.
He is also
for the evening.
No, yeah, I understand. I completely understand. He has also signed an executive order instructing all departments and all U.S. agencies not to propose or issue any new rules or regulations until they are reviewed thoroughly by his administration first. This would appear to be somewhat at odds with the previous Supreme Court ruling on the three-letter agencies saying that any rules or regulations actually had to go through Congress. Nonetheless, we'll see how he gets into it but basically he has put a freeze on everything. So that means, I guess Bank of America, Citigroup, JP Morgan, Chase have all hailed this and said that deregulating the banks will raise hold on, where did that go? I can't find that again. They applauded him not adding any new regulations to the banks. The banks, again, responsible for the 2008 collapse that nearly wiped out the United States of America. That's not a joke. That's not hyperbole. It's that bad. We don't often talk about it. I haven't found an economist yet who's reviewed that and said, yeah, we were within 24 hours of not having an economy anymore, the U.S. being just wiped out. So rules and regulations, who needs Dodd-Frank? All right, we are off to the races. Trump has, for those of you just joining us, Trump has declared that he is going to increase, that he is now going to do even more executive orders, and that these are the big ones. He has issued already an executive order saying that there is no more birthright citizenship. So if you are born in the United States, that does not make you a citizen. presumably anybody born, and this is a big country. Children have been born between when he signed the order earlier today and now. Those children are not American, according to Trump. Now, fortunately, he can't, by fiat, change the U.S. Constitution. They are American, but he obviously hasn't thought this through or doesn't care. He has declared all cartels in Mexico to be international terrorist organizations, giving him presumably giving him authority to invade Mexico. He has hit Mexico and Canada with 25% tariffs to start on February 1st. He has just signed, as of a few moments ago, is this application for protecting America. This looks like a repeal to give TikTok more time, but I'm not sure. This is pertaining to TikTok. We'll have what did the office? Okay, he's saying that none of the previous acts that occurred before his administration should be enacted or enforced until he has the ability to negotiate a resolution on his own, or to understand, address the issue and understand the national security concerns for himself. He's instructing the Attorney General not to take any action to enforce that act, although it looks like he's trying to say any of the previous actions made by the Biden administration for a period of 75 days to allow, quote, my administration the opportunity to determine the appropriate course forward in an orderly way that protects national security while avoiding the abrupt shutdown of a communications platform. On behalf of the not to enforce. Okay, no. All right. So I think we're going to get some more, but so far what we've seen is we didn't mention this earlier. Biden, I think it was Biden, had chosen to add immigrants, and I think even undocumented ones, to the census so that they could be counted appropriately in the apportioning of representatives. Thank you. In the apportioning of representatives to Congress, that has now been removed. So undocumented immigrants and possibly even legal immigrants. I haven't reviewed I'm going as quickly as I can. At a minimum, the undocumented immigrants, and I suspect even documented ones, are no longer counted by the U.S. Census, meaning they will not have any impact on the apportioning of congressmen to the House. All right. Any other? Oh, yeah. At no point shall this nation's founding has. Okay, that's the repeal. The Constitution did not give equal weight to. Oh, no, that's not. That's the law. Okay. So here's how I think this is the. Okay, this is the order issued today, the executive order. At no point.
Mowdy needs a banjo right now.
Yeah. At no point since our nation's founding has a person's immigration status alone served as a basis for excluding that person from the total population used before the Civil War. Did not give equal. No, that's not. I think that's the order. We'll have to get into that. Sorry, there is so many. Okay, so let's talk about the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty. 28 states have said that even if he withdraws, they are going to enforce those treaties within the states. a number of senators have said that they believe the treaty must be enforced anyway. Any thoughts?
I think most of this is the Trump administration throwing so much stuff against the wall as a strategy to misdirect attention, right? When you have this much stuff going on, you've essentially clogged the system from being efficient. And when there's a clog in efficiency, there is a vacuum of power, and that can be easily filled while while the mechanisms for change are being clogged, and the people get impatient with Congress. Well, fuck, who other than a strongman is going to step up and be like, I can change this? So even if 50% of what he throws to the wall right now sticks, it's still just a distraction, because while everyone's reporting on the other 50% that doesn't mean anything, he's fucking, what is it called? Pumping and dumping fucking Dogecoin or whatever the shit. Like it's not politics as usual. I think it's a mistake for reporters to take what he's doing as top-line news and to analyze it like any other politician from the past, because that's not what's happening. We're watching somebody purposely shuck and jive in front of us, asking us to catch him if we can. And it's not a place we've ever been before.
Andrew?
Also, I'm whacked on steroids right now because I hurt my back last week. So fucking prednisone is really sponsoring this rant.
Well, I agree with everything you said. So, it hasn't changed the content, and I don't know if Xandering is okay. I do. That's a very good point, and I do feel like we've been somewhat remiss in, because we had mentioned it earlier, but I think it's very important, which was Trump created his own crypto coin. Now, the whole point behind this crypto coin was to make it was a commemorative crypto coin, which it's not even real. How can it be commemorative? And we all remember those Trump commemorative plates and all this stuff that people just bought like crazy. And
the NFTs.
Yes, there was the NFTs, the Trump cards, which were all used Adobe stock, unlicensed. So it was just illegal, and he's violated so many laws. I don't even know that anyone's going after him for that one. But what he did with the coin, from what I can tell, is pumped up the new Trump coin. Then Melania releases her coin. He dumps all his stock in that one, buys hers, which causes that to go up, then dumps that one. So, yeah, that's. We keep saying he's going to run out of money. Not if he can. Does cult of personality work? I mean, what? I don't understand what you would even call this.
I'm going to be skeptical again, and again, I'm just doing this to be devil's advocate, and I'm roided up. But I want you to consider the fact that when he sells products that can be bought by anybody around the world because it's an online transaction, then people aren't buying his NFTs. He's selling NFTs as a way to Trojan horse foreign money in. Like, you don't have to be an American to buy any of the things that he's selling. And you don't see many Americans with them. I just that he keeps putting out schemes so that's a Trojan horse for people with money to just buy it all up, right? He only puts out the amount that he's going to need, sells them all, then goes on to the next one. I mean, come on. Sold out all of his fucking products, sell out in 24 hours? No. I'm not buying. I'm not even conspiratorially minded, but that just as a business person, which is what he is, that seems like the easiest grift possible.
Well, it's not just as a business person, but he's done this before when he was running out of money, ended up selling to a whole bunch of Russian oligarchs the NFTs, and he also sold I forget what it was. It wasn't the lighter, and it wasn't the shoes, but he so like. When people want to exceed their campaign donations to him, and his campaign was running low on money, you can only donate $2,500. He just puts something up for sale at a ridiculous price, somebody buys it, and then he's made all that money without, the NFTs, he doesn't even have to, they don't exist. He doesn't have to make anything.
Pieces of his suit. He sold pieces of his fucking suit. That's shit that Elvis does. Or television preachers do. Come on. But all of that said, I'm going to try to get my roid rage under control here.
It's probably all my fault because I said, may you live in interesting times. Things just got interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, Trump has, so we already know that his new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has said that he would like to see an end to the war. The war has to end and both sides will have to give up something, which troubles me because Ukraine didn't do anything but get invaded. It was Russia that invaded sovereign land. Russia had already acknowledged in the Budapest Accords that it was sovereign land. They agreed to it. It's actually Putin's signature on it, saying that they're sovereign lands and saying he will never invade. He took Crimea. He invaded them once. He's now invaded them a second time, and they have to compromise? Is that the U.S. of Leave It to Beaver, out of curiosity? Asking for a friend. But Trump now says that he plans on meeting with Putin and wants the Ukraine war over as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of all of his picks, right? Marco Rubio, I'm not going to say he's one of the good ones, but he's one of the least bad ones?
Yeah.
It would be great if he turned into the crazy Manchurian candidate halfway through like the term, just doing what he wants.
I think we're going to have to put a question mark behind everything at this point.
Yeah, and for me, that is the attempt to report things like we're supposed to syndrome. It's not we're losing the narrative by covering this like regular politics. And also, this is near beer, for those of you wondering. Which, by the way, I just discovered is more delicious than regular beer because it doesn't get you fucked up. So Brooklyn Brewery makes a wonderful near beer, non-alcoholic called Special Effects. Anyway.
I never thought regular beer tasted all that good, so the fact that it's better doesn't really mean much.
As an alcoholic who loves beer, they have developed this bizarre technology where they literally brew beer and then centrifuge the alcohol out of it so it tastes exactly like a beer. So for those of us trying to sniff alcohol, these are a godsend.
And Lance has joined us. Lance, can we get a mic check out of you?
Testing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, sir. We've got you loud and clear. It's been interesting.
Following is a mic check from the conductor from the pilot house. Am I Mark? Anyway, sorry, go ahead. Long count test of the 1MC. Please, go.
Please, no.
Meanwhile, Trump has ordered the release of Oath Keepers and Proud Boys in prison for seditious conspiracy. This includes Stuart Rhodes, who was convicted of seditious conspiracy and sentenced to 18 years. He is now to be released, and his charges fully commuted.
No surprise.
Someone in side chat just mentioned that he signed a withdrawal from the WHO.
Oh,
yeah. Oracle from the couch even had something to say about that.
I heard the Oracle too.
Even though I have a curtain here, there's still a couch and there's still an Oracle.
There's still that. Listen, no curtain going to stop the Oracle. I would believe it. I thought I saw something that said he. Let's see. I want to see. He is signing. Okay, if he's signing it, 𝐍𝐤𝐜𝐿TG, we'll find out in a minute. We're only finding out after they're signed. But Commander, just in case you wanted to be brought up to date, and I'll see if I can find a spot for you. I maybe put you in his Zandering spot because he's just got the. I mean, I like his picture there in the Constitution. What is that next to his Zandering? I don't recognize that anymore. we the people. I don't. It's just some.
That's just the lyrics to this awesome Schoolhouse Rock song from a long time ago.
It's a quaint artificial construct from
in order to form a more
old
perfect
textbooks.
union.
So
I cordially invite everybody to join me on my Twilight marathon. Just if you need to get away, just come on, join me. We'll do a Skype call or something. We'll set up the movies and we'll watch and make fun of the horrible acting.
Yeah.
Still a better story than Trump 2.0.
Shannon just finished watching all the Twilight, and she's the biggest Last Unicorn fan on Earth.
Oh,
I
you did not say
again.
that. You did not just say that.
Solve
oh,
the
dear
world's
Lord.
problems.
All right. So, in case you're wondering what's been going on, Commander, Trump we're starting to get into some of the 80 orders that he rescinded, the 80 Biden orders. One of them is the task force to reunite families that have been separated under his first term. He announced 35 minutes ago that he was not going to impose tariffs on day one, and nobody should expect tariffs. He then, 15 minutes ago, imposed a universal 25% tariff on Canada and on Mexico. He has pardoned. Yeah. It took him 10 minutes to switch on that. That tariff, the tariff gets imposed January 1st. So when he says not on day one, I guess what he means is not on his first day, or thank you, February 1st, not on his first day, just on 1st of February. Dear Lord. Okay, I just saw a picture of him signing these executive orders and in the Oval Office, and there's a whole bunch more. He has said that he is now signing, quote, the big ones. This includes a pardon to 1,500 of the 9/11, January 6th rioters. Yeah. The tariffs, froze all regulatory.
The January 6th people are not a surprise. We all anticipated that was coming.
Don't know. Except why did at one point he started to look like he was backing up, and I thought maybe he was going to,
not a chance in hell.
But now that it's done, like consequences, right? The validation that these people have, getting out of jail, what they did. Like, what is that going to do to like just the social psychology, right? Like I said, they're trying to make the world like they thought they were living in for the past bunch of decades, right? They thought it was all liberal, putting down the conservatives, and now it's mostly conservative, and they feel they want to put down the liberals. So what's going to happen now that the nation is filled with validated white supremacists, nationalists, people who would normally be frowned upon, have somebody in charge that gives them the right to be who they are in ways that we've been trying to progress away from?
Well, according to Commander McMillan, they're going to be handed out brown shirts.
Oh, no.
Hugo Boss?
They are the obvious choice for his stormtroopers, the people who will be going out to victimize his political opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean,
they owe him.
Yeah. I mean, these are the guys who ride or die. I mean, these are the guys now at this point who look at him and would die for him because he's gotten them out of prison.
They've already self-selected themselves as the ones that'll do the most extreme thing.
Yep.
So they're a self-selected group of rogue characters dedicated to Trump.
And you're dealing with a group that probably believes that they can go out and literally commit murder and he will pardon them for it because they're acting in his name.
I wonder what the NRA is going to do when all people of color and liberals start buying guns.
I was wondering the same thing.
On the one hand, I will cheer because everybody should be able to access their Second Amendment rights. I don't give a shit what your ideology is. On the other hand, the reason they feel they need to go do so is a bit frightening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's to be addressed. That's a level to be addressed as well. But let's keep it political and psychological.
Well, what the hell are you here for then?
Listen, I already said I'm roided up.
It's like, wait a minute. He said let's keep it psychological. He's the biggest psycho we know. So, of course, we're keeping it psychological.
So we're keeping it psycho. Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
We're still waiting on the World Health Organization. I mean, we pay, I forget what percentage, but it is an exorbitant percentage of the World Health Organization. If we withdraw, my understanding is, for most parts, the WHO collapses. It's not even like a NATO kind of. We keep it going, but it is well worth it. So, all right, he's just signed another one. We'll get into that one in a minute. Oh my God. The title of this, I haven't read it
too many times.
I've said that. Yeah, I know. We could, if we had take one swig of beer every time I say that today, half our audience would have alcohol poisoning.
You'd have alcohol poisoning by now, that's for sure.
So the title of this executive order, also not on my bingo card, holding former government officials accountable for election interference and improper disclosure of sensitive government information. I thought he was against, I thought he was on the other side of that issue.
Selective.
I was just about to say, part of his narrative, yet he's, so you're going to arrest yourself now?
Let's see. Effective immediately.
You're going to hit somebody for doing that, and even if it applies to you and your friends, you never prosecute yourselves. You only prosecute the opposition.
Okay, so in order to keep people from meddling and engaging in partisan politics, or otherwise use the U.S. political campaign system for a U.S. political system for campaign engineering purposes, effective immediately, the Director of National Intelligence shall revoke the current or any current or active clearances held by the following people: James Clapper, Leon Panetta. I'm going to go through the list for just the ones I can recognize. So he's revoking now. I don't know how many of these. I mean, would Leon Panetta still have a security clearance? I don't know. He's revoking the security clearance of everybody in the previous administration. John Bolton should never have had a security clearance in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. Nick Shapiro. Okay, so basically, within 90 days, they shall report any details. Okay, so it looks like this is an attempt to revoke previous administration security clearances. I'm wondering, I was actually looking for and did not find. I should maybe search. It's 50 names. I was looking for Biden on it, because Biden is entitled to keep his security clearance and entitled to the presidential daily briefing, as are all former presidents. And so my question is he going to revoke that? Which, if he's going to head in the direction that the entire panel seems to be thinking, including Brooks, he may want to revoke that from them at some point. But at any rate, he's revoked a whole number of. Biden's not on the list, so I don't know. Any thoughts? No? Okay.
I mean, it makes sense that he would want to do that, because if you're not in his camp and you're getting those briefings, then in theory, you can reveal when he's lying to the public about something, and he doesn't want that. It's control the narrative, make me look like the God King, and the rest of you look like, evil interlopers.
But the malicious part, and by the way, is my volume a little bit better now? I tried to
not much.
Not so much?
your volume should be. We have an auto gain on this, but.
Oh, now I completely lost my thought. Oh, the lack of forethought, like that's kind of scary. Like when you feel so willing to break the rules without the forethought that, oh, well, the other party will be able to do the things that I'm doing, right? Like I'm breaking the rules for all future generations. If they're not thinking about that, then what are they thinking about? If they're breaking all of these rules, knowing that they are rules to be broken, and knowing that from now on they can just be broken by anybody, what's the strategy? They know the Democrats won't do it, says the Oracle.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe? You think the Democrats? I do as well. I think that there's as bad.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's You never grant upon yourself a power which you would not want your opposition to freely wield.
Yeah, that's like rule number one, and they're breaking that.
Yeah.
Which tells you that they have no intention of ever letting the opposition back into power.
That's my point. Exactly. Now, before we go too far on this, there was somebody in chat that kind of wanted a breakdown of the birthright citizenship topic. So maybe just explain what it is and what Trump is doing to it.
All right. Believe it or not every country in the world says if you're born here, you are a citizen. I don't know how many do. I think there's only 3 or 4. I think Commander would know better than I. But most do not. And so we are one of the few countries in which if you're born here, you're a citizen, period, end of discussion. That does cause people to, pregnant women in particular, to try to cross the border because if their child is born here, their child is a citizen, even though they were not a citizen. So birthright citizenship simply means if you're born here, you're a citizen. And there are a lot of reasons why I think it's important in general. I do see how and why people can see it as being abused. Having said that, the question I would ask is, why would someone want their child to be an American? The only reason I can think of is because America is a good country, and America is a country that you would want your children to grow up in. And so people who go to extreme lengths, including sometimes getting themselves killed, trying to have their children born in the U.S., are often actually the kind of people we may want more of, because A, they appreciate this country, and B, they tend to be harder workers. And this is not my liberal whatever. If it is, my liberal bias seems to somehow be affecting reality, because this is what every study shows us. Immigrant populations tend to work much harder than the populations that were born from descendants of this country, and it's been this way, and they've been universally hated. I've been raised in Boston. You know, the Irish was a huge, New York, Scottish. They've been hated immigrants, and they have built this country, from what I can tell. Is there anything anybody else on this panel would like to add before we? So that's what he wants to end, is all. But ending birthright citizenship would mean all birthright citizenship. So if my parents were born in America, I was born in America. If I have a child born right now, according to Trump, that child is not an American. But birthright citizenship is built into the Constitution. One of the reasons they, well, I'm getting into that. What were you going to say? So I think Marty was about to say something.
I was going to say something about your previous point about immigrants being hard workers. I think there's a movie called A Day Without a Mexican.
Yes.
That kind of proves that point. It's not a really good movie, but it's a really good point.
Okay. So now we get into some of the more scary stuff. We mentioned earlier that we thought we would get more on the declaration of the the drug cartels in Mexico as terrorist organizations, international terrorist organizations, because that would presumably free us up to take some significant military action. He has just passed an executive order clarifying the military's role in protecting the territorial integrity of the United States. As chief executive and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And in order to protect the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of the United States, the armed forces are directed to, here we go. The Secretary of Defense will, in no later than 10 days, effective from the date of this order, deliver a unified command plan that assigns United States Northern Command the mission to seal the borders and maintain the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the security of the United States by repelling forms of invasion, including unlawful mass migration, narcotics trafficking, human smuggling, and trafficking, and other criminal activities. On the effective date of this order, the following requirements to the contingency planning guidance and guidance for the employment of force. A level 3 planning requirement, which I suspect Commander may be able to shed light on in a minute, to seal the borders and maintain the sovereignty and territorial integrity and security of the United States by repelling forms of invasion, including unlawful mass migration, narcotics trafficking, human smuggling, with the commander's estimated due to the security of defense within 30 days. A campaign planning requirement for U.S. NORTHCOM to provide steady state southern border security, seal the border, and a continuous assessment of all available options to protect the sovereignty of the United States from unlawful entry and impingement on our national sovereignty. Commander, thoughts?
It's going to be interesting because, generally speaking, America Command, or whatever the term was he was using, doesn't control any troops. So where they would source personnel to enforce this stuff from would be open to question. So I don't know how we'd pull it off other than, mobilizing reserves or National Guard. And therein itself opens up another question of, if you wanted to ensure that the order was carried out with the appropriate forcefulness, you mobilize the National Guards of, certain deep red states to go play shoot 'em up on the borders or whatever.
I
can easily see him doing.
Well, as somebody I'd seen just as we were going over it earlier, because they said that he was going to issue more orders to the military pertaining to calling these cartels international terrorists, and that basically he's going to tell the president of Mexico, either you stop all drug trafficking or we're invading Mexico. And that essentially this is a pretext to that.
It's worked out so well for other people who invaded Mexico.
Yeah. An executive order restoring the death penalty and protecting public safety.
Oh, wow. Reinstating death penalty, babe.
Yep. Capital punishment is an essential tool for deterring and punishing. Every fucking research I've ever seen says it's not a deterrent.
No psychologist ever says, no sociologist ever. The deterrent from the death penalty is a fucking goose egg. It's ungats.
But it appeals to the radical right because, oh, wow, we can go kill all the people we don't like because their skin's a different color. That's exactly what it is. He said, this is a dog whistle.
Yep. This would make us one of the only. I forget how many Western countries have the death penalty, but it's like 1 or 0. It's gone up by 1, so whatever it was.
And also with all the prisons being privatized, what does that mean?
I forgot about that. Thank you. Yeah. So one of the orders he rescinded. Private prisons.
How dare you, Nick?
Yeah.
How dare you forget something like that?
I'm disappointed.
Yes, I'm very disappointed in your ability to keep track of hundreds of things coming in all at once.
Yeah. One of the orders that I had wanted to talk about that's been rescinded, Biden said that he was closing all private prisons. Now, there are a lot of reasons why this is good. We've had 2 episodes in our past on prisons and why private prisons are a horrific fucking idea. It's a really bad idea. It has never ended well. It will never end well. It cannot end well. There are reasons for this. Nonetheless, Biden signed an executive order saying there would be no more contracts for new private prisons, and as all the old contracts expired, they would not be renewed. That is one of the orders that has been rescinded, and it looks like Trump is preparing to privatize the prison system.
As some of the people that own those private prison corporations are major contributors to his campaign.
Yep. And having said that, I've been negligent because we've had so much coming in. Oh, thank you, Dorito. I appreciate it. And I'd like to issue a very sincere thank you to Dorito, who has been on top of everything tonight and been a really huge help. Thank you, sir. Darian Vaughn, $4.99. Birthright citizenship. That's a constitutional issue. Damn. Well, exactly. He cannot just declare it over. It would have to be ratified by 2/3 of. Is it 2/3? No, it's not 2/3 of the states. We had
3/4, 2/3 of Congress, 3/4 of the states.
Thank you. To ratify, to change that. That's not going to happen. Having said that, as we've been discussing tonight, he doesn't care whether it does or doesn't. He wants the argument to take place and everyone to get distracted by arguing over really stupid shit like this that he absolutely, obviously can't do. But well, maybe he can't.
Pay no attention to this.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. $2 Sinister Porpoise. I did not vote for the gilded dirigible. Thank you, Isandering. Dirigible. Thank you. $5 also from, and thank you so much, Sinister Porpoise, for your continued support. We really appreciate it. You've been with us for a long time. Thank you to Darian Vaughn, one of the newer people around. We really do appreciate it. We're covering a lot tonight, so I apologize it's taken this long to get to you. But
what do you think? Maybe I could get a job as like teaching English or something, maybe? I have a feeling that some of this tariff shenanigans may put me out of work because less goods to move.
Yeah, you're going to get hit. Here. They ain't going to need those Tesla batteries if the windmills start going, because Trump is pissed at windmills. He's literally Don Quixote at this point, isn't he?
I was just about to say he's gotten tired of tilting at them, so I guess he's just going to get rid of them. I have learned the lessons of Don Quixote. I shall simply executive order them away.
$5 from the Sinister Porpoise. AI researchers have apologized for Trump. They released him before he passed the Turing test. Yeah. Darian Vaughn, you assault police officers, you are pardoned or you're murdered. Remember, Trump has passed a executive order saying that killing a police officer is a crime against humanity and is now punishable by the death penalty. So in case you missed that, Chris, that was earlier. Or if an immigrant maims or murders an American, that is also, I think, punishable by death now. Darian Vaughn.
Own homegrown murderers and rapists?
Yeah, but it's worse if they came from a different country.
Yeah, but
it's worse if they don't speak English.
We have the thoroughbreds.
Well, exactly. We can't dilute that, I mean,
we're number one.
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it, if I'm going to get raped or murdered, it had better be from a white guy. No Mexicans better do it or they better kill him.
Yeah.
Wow. I love you, Xander.
Oh my God, this is ridiculous.
It's laugh or cry, gentlemen. It's laugh or cry. This is and Darian Vaughn for $1.99. Nick, you would look better in a blue shirt.
I think you would.
Really?
There's a
Really?
whole long line of arguments there.
No, we're not going back down that road again.
Powder blue, so that it matches your eyes.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, but apparently I'm a genocidal maniac pretty much no matter what color I wear. That's been predetermined.
I think this day is going to be remembered long after humans are dust and books are written by rabbits.
Whoa. Last time I heard that, I was knee-high to a grasshopper.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. So we now have the death penalty again. Wow. We have private prisons again. This is all.
So there's monetary incentive to kill people and put them in jail?
Well, to put them in jail, the problem is if you kill them, you can't make money off of incarcerating them. So I don't know. I guess it really matters.
Who sells the poison?
That's true. That's true. If you get I should have thought of that. I feel so disappointed in myself.
10,000% markup on the drugs needed to execute somebody. There you go.
Yeah,
Phenobarbital or whatever it is.
And tariffed.
Protect the United States from foreign terrorists and other national security, public safety threats, like Donald Trump. So I guess
this is one of those things that sounds good in principle. And it matters a hell of a lot. Also, it matters a hell of a lot how you do that.
All of these sound, not all, but like 90% of these sound good in principle. It's like, Keep America Safe Act. We're keeping America safe by imprisoning everybody who disagrees with us in a for-profit prison while taking away all their security credentials and letting seditionists out on the streets and giving them uniforms. Unleashing Alaska's
are brown.
Yep. Unleashing Alaska's extraordinary resource potential. I'm not going to read that one. I think we all know roughly what that one's going to say. Protecting the American people against invasion. We've already had like 3 or 4 on the invasion, so I have no idea what this is. Over the past 4 years, the prior administration invited, administered, and oversaw an unprecedented flood of illegal immigration to the United States. Oh, this is like that we're all paying $50,000 in. Okay. Oh no, he's rescinding some order, Homeland Security, criminal enforcement policies. Okay. The Attorney General, in coordination with the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security, shall take all appropriate action to prioritize the prosecution of criminal offenses related to the unauthorized entry or continued unauthorized presence of aliens in the United States. So, if you're a murderer, but you're born in the U.S., you are less likely to be prosecuted than if you're a murderer, because they're taking our jobs. See? So there's only so many.
Yep, those damn immigrants taking our jobs.
Does this mean that they're going to?
How about that?
What?
Work harder. Whose jobs are being taken? People complain. Work harder.
I wonder. So that basically this means if what the guy who shot the CEO, the head of United Healthcare, if an illegal immigrant shoots another CEO, I think this means that they let that guy go. I'm kidding. Okay, so it generally, from what I can tell, it says to prioritize over all other, from what I can tell, all other crimes. The Department of Justice is to prioritize dealing with illegal immigration. So even over drug trafficking, over robbery, over violent crimes, the number one goal is illegal. The number one crime now in the U.S. is illegal immigration. This appears to also affect the removal of recent entrants and other aliens to create detention facilities.
You know what I think? I think that it's going to take so long to get all of them that they're just going to round them up and put like a marking on them, like, I don't know, like a pink triangle or something.
Ooh.
And they'll just like walk around with this mark, knowing that they're not really a citizen and potentially could be taken away at any moment. I think that's a brand new idea that I just came up with. And, I think that Trump...
Little yellow star would be perfect for that.
A star. There we go.
Not just any star, though. It's got to be a 6-pointed
No,
star.
no. We're Americans. We use 5-pointed stars, damn it.
That is true.
Pentagram. Maybe upside down.
Oh. No, that would be too similar to the Republican symbol that they're going to be adopting.
Yeah. Good point. I mean, how it's just... History doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. I made the fucking mistake of listening to an audiobook about the history of Hitler on an 8-hour drive. So I can't not see like these weird similarities. And I'm not a historian, so don't take anything I'm saying serious.
This is 1932 Weimar Germany right now.
Yep. I mean, according to the author I listened to.
He's just become chancellor. It's going to take a while before he can enact the Nuremberg laws, but
he's not taken seriously.
They're being pushed.
Yeah.
Right.
So he is signing these fucking things faster than establishing and implementing the president's Department of Government Efficiency. This is the Doge department now. This is.
Do that.
Yeah, he can't. So I just want to see if it recognizes that he can't do that. Definitions.
Well, he'll get around it because it'll become some sort of statutory, temporary arrangement or something, which is allowed. So it won't have a full cabinet position, but he'll grant it all sorts of powers that effectively make it one.
Yeah, make it a presidential advisory board.
Yeah, that's what you would think. Except he just literally says that he doesn't have to do that, or that he does and he's not going to. Definitions as used. Agency has the meaning as given to it in section 551 of Title V of the United States Code, except that such a term does not include the executive office of the president or any component thereof. That's the definition of agency they're using.
Yeah.
So they're admitting that they don't have, that this office cannot create that agency, but they're doing it anyway. Okay. So I guess it's a temporary until it gets made permanent, I guess, by Congress. The executive order displaces all prior regulations insofar as they were subject to presidential amendment. Yeah, that's not... I don't know how many that is. There's probably not a lot of them. Okay. Dear Lord. Defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government.
Biology.
Ideological extremism.
Sex shall refer to an individual's immutable biological classification as either male or female. Sex is not a synonym for and does not include the concept of gender identity. Women or woman...
Intersex?
What? What about
intersex? Intersex is you were born male, female, or intersex.
Don't complicate this with facts. Come on.
I'm just trying. I thought there were 3 buckets of biology, but okay, fine.
You know what? You know what the problem is with this interface is I can't close the windows. Each interface is designed to do different things. This one's designed to like take in streaming. This is what we did Black Lives Matter on. We can stream like 6 different shows here, but I can't shut him out. He's just stuck in here until he bails.
How dare you say that biology isn't messy? My goodness. Don't we know that we have these categories and it's because it's the immutable biological truth?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, okay, so I do want to see, okay, that's another one. He defines male, female, men, women. Gender identity reflects the full internal and subjective sense of self, disconnected from biology, from biological reality. recognizing women are biologically distinct from men within 30 days of this order, the Secretary of Health and Human Services shall provide to the U.S. government, external partners, and the public clear guidance expanding on the sex-based definitions set forth in this order. In addition, ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing. This, I thought he had already done. He creates a new director whose job it is to remove all the wasteful DEI and DEIA, that's diversity, equality, inclusion, and accessibility programs from the U.S. government. So he's creating a new position to get rid of all the wasteful positions.
Do away with the ADA. Read between the lines on that one.
Okay, somebody's going to have to explain this one to me. He just signed this one. He has just declared that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a federal holiday. But I thought
it already was.
Is. He has just made Martin Luther King Jr. Day a federal holiday. And I heard what you said. Not shh.
Yay?
Trump made Martin Luther King Jr. Day a federal holiday. Trump has always made Martin Luther King Jr. Day a federal holiday. It has only been Trump that has made Martin Luther King Jr. Day a federal holiday. When we've always been at war with Eurasia.
Soon, all food will be Taco Bell.
So, he declares...
I'm so confused.
I mean,
that's like making a law that air is breathable. Like it's already assumed as much.
Help me. Let me. I've got. Okay. Thank you. No. It's.
This just proves that Uncle Don is looking out for you.
Yeah. Well, and so basically, what he does. Okay. Quote. A few short years ago, my administration achieved the lowest unemployment and poverty rates for Black Americans ever recorded to that point. We won massive funding for historically Black colleges and universities, reformed the criminal justice system, and fought for school choice. Whatever your color, race, creed, religion, or creed, my administration ensured that neighborhoods were safe, families were secure, and jobs were abundant, and we will do it all again. As Dr. King courageously marched for jobs and freedoms together with faith in God and committed to our founding principles, we will restore the American dream for all Americans. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim January 20th, 2025 as the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday. On this day, I encourage all Americans to honor Dr. King's legacy by praying for our nation and working to restore the American dream.
Only for 2025. Years
he's just declared it.
What actual? God damn.
And not for nothing, but he just put the flags back up at full mast. Shouldn't they be at half mast then for Martin Luther King Jr. if we're going to go to hell with?
I don't think that's ever been the case.
No? Okay.
I think that only applies to like Memorial Day or something.
Oh, okay. I literally would be unable to make this stuff up.
Well, you would definitely fail as an author because, unlike the real world fiction must make sense.
Yep. And for those of you who are asking, there is a typo in the class books that we use for school in here. And that typo says that after significant lobbying to Congress, Ronald Reagan signed the holiday into law in 1983, and it was first observed in 1986. I will also point out that letter from a Birmingham jail has been read at the start of every single congressional at the start of every new Congress, every 2 years, since then up until, I think, about 5 or 10 years ago. But those are all typos. None of that happened. What we'd like you to do is everybody will be receiving in the mail a copy that says Trump created Martin Luther King Jr. Day on this day. You'll be receiving that in the mail. What you do is it's got a nice convenient sticker on the back. You peel the sticker off. You just stick it over what you thought was history, and then you have the real history.
Basically borrowing a page from the USSR where, as people fell out of political favor, you sent everybody who owned the books that showed photographs of them, new photos with them edited out. Because the only history that exists is the one that the current leader wants you to think is true history.
Oh, yeah, so he can take credit for it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, yeah, no, thank you for that. Martin Luther King Jr., there are a number of holidays, but mostly military ones. You're right, Korean War veterans, Pearl Harbor, a number of others, Memorial Day. So, all right, we seem to have caught up. There are, I have no doubt, a number of other ones, but we're trying to
it's beginning to look a lot like Mao's China. Everywhere you go.
Well, that was on the left, but okay, I'm still. Let's see. Senator Linda Murkowski has said that. So he has signed an executive order. I skipped this one earlier because I didn't think it was a big deal. So he has signed an executive order. I believe it changed a number of landmarks. It changed Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. It changed Mount Denali back to Mount McKinley, which is what it used to be called. Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski has said that she is going to file a complaint with Donald Trump about the change, and she does not support it. Our nation's tallest mountain, which has been called Denali for thousands of years, must continue to be known by its rightful name bestowed by Alaska's 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴THABASCANS. I actually think I was probably pretty close on that, and I apologize to anyone if I.
It's quite close.
Oh, thank you. Who have stewarded this land since time immemorial.
So I have a quick question for Sandra here. If we're turning into Mao's China, I need to know whether this is the Cultural Revolution or the Great Leap Forward that we're living through right now.
Totally the Cultural Revolution.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we have another thing about...
To be followed in 4 years by the Great Leap Forward.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Enacting a long march as all sane people migrate away from the country.
Trump has announced that the U.S. is withdrawing from the World Health Organization. Donald Trump has announced that he is withdrawing from the World Health Organization, a significant move cutting ties with the UN's public health agency on his first day in office. He has long been critical of the World Health Organization, and his administration has formally withdrew from the organization in July of 2020 as the COVID pandemic continued to spread. The text of the executive order cites, quote, the organization's mishandling of COVID-19 pandemic that arose out of Wuhan, China, and other global health crises. Its failure to adopt urgently needed reforms, and its inability to demonstrate independence from from inappropriate political influence of World Health Organization member states. That's the big one. Trump told an aide as he began to sign the executive order, so presumably withdrawal from the World Health Organization is the big one of all the ones that we can expect. He also said that the World Health Organization continues to demand unfairly onerous payments from the U.S. Well, you have to, for COVID, you have to either blame him or the World Health Organization. So, I guess I get it. Any thoughts on that?
I have less sympathy for the World Health Organization.
I have more sympathy for the World Health Organization because I know how difficult our national institutes of health are dealing with, just health of the nation and dealing with, categorization and treatments of stuff. And it's always hit or miss, right? That's why doctors are like guesswork in a white lab coat. But I like I'm a fan of globalism, so that's my bias. If we can have all the greatest minds in the world working on the problems, I think that's a good thing. But I also know that it's super inefficient, and that's the problem with committees. Now, if he's willing to pull out of the WHO, as somebody who works at a science center that is very much based on NIH grants, the NIH, even before Trump was, well, I guess that's not true because he was running as soon as he lost. The NIH is currently kind of in turmoil. Things are changing. And so with such a non-science leader for the country, it just makes me wonder, how this is all going to play out. If we're going to pull out of the WHO and the NIH is going to be unstable for a while as it reforms or restructures itself, what the fuck is going to happen to research? What's going to happen to medical treatments? What's going to happen to medicine discoveries? What's going to happen to any discovery that can be claimed as American?
Well, and
sorry to bring everybody down.
No. I think it's important, and I'm glad you brought it up. You're the only one here, I think, with any significant science background, and I think that's a really good point. And the problem is, in a lot of these, we've been sitting there going we just laugh our asses off. With the citizen birthright, it bothers me because it's like the idea that he'd even consider it, but the reality is it's not going to happen. He has zero say in the matter, none. So we can laugh about it. He has already signed the paperwork withdrawing from the World Health Organization. This isn't a joke. This isn't something that he doesn't have the power to do. He has done it. I don't know how long it takes. I don't know what the process is, but he's signed the order. We're doing it. Same thing with the Paris climate deal. Yeah. So I do have to inform you all that we are going to send you some new stickers. So remember we sent you the stickers. Well, you don't remember that because who made Martin Luther King Jr. Day a holiday?
Trump,
exactly. Good. So you've all read your books. So now we're going to send you new stickers. We're going to take those stickers, you're going to take the backing off and you're going to put it on. And what it says is that Ronald Reagan made this holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a holiday. The reason we're going to do that is Trump just removed that order. That order was posted to the White House website as an order signed by Donald Trump, declaring today Martin Luther King Jr. Day. The White House has now removed that executive order from the list of signed orders, and today is now not Martin Luther King Jr. Day as prescribed by Trump, but once again, Martin Luther King Jr. Day as prescribed by Ronald Reagan. So we can all go back to our books and change it again. Or you just get a putty knife and just take the other one right off.
Down with Martin Luther King. Long live Martin Luther King.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
We're going to end up with just textbooks, American history books, our biology books, just science in general. We're going to end up with these. We're going to have holes all over them because of all of the erasing and rewriting that we've had to try and do.
Traditionally, Oceania has always been a firm supporter of East Asia.
Then, I'm thinking we are slowly.
Just for the record, I am not opposed.
It's
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not opposed to the idea of the World Health Organization. I like the idea behind it, but I'm not particularly sympathetic to it collapsing either. Although my mind is always open to being changed. There was an aspect that Maori just brought up that I had not considered. So, subject to change.
The Martin Luther King Jr. one was weird, admittedly, but somebody has to have written it. And ostensibly, it wouldn't go on to the website of, it went on to the website under presidential actions. It was there. I read it. I swear to God, I am not like hallucinating. I'm not having a seizure. It was there. It's gone.
Sure. And I suppose there were only 4 lights as well, right?
Oh, anybody in the audience who just got that reference, like, you deserve an award. That's my kind of audience. There were only 4 lights.
So I want to address something mentioned in the side chat while I was on my rant about the NIH and about where we're going to get funding from. Somebody mentioned private funding. I would like to remind people the difference between government-funded research, which is meant to have no bias and just give results, versus privatized grants, which want you to prove a point, and if you don't, they don't want you to publish. So it completely confounds the neutrality and independence of politics of science. I'm not saying that science doesn't have its own politics, but its normal autonomy from influences of corporate or whatever, those are seen, they have firewalls against that, I guess is what I'm saying. And it would be a violation of those firewalls to just be taking money from private, right? Unless you are so optimistic that people are, private corporations are just going to invest in R&D regardless of what the results are. But I want you to think about that if that's what you think. I want you to think about it long and hard. In America's capitalist system, how's that going to make money?
And that's exactly, if there isn't, no private institute, for the most part, is going to invest unless they're going to get unless they're expecting a return of some kind, whatever that's going to be.
I don't mean China. Japan has their shit together. Their companies super invest in basic science, right? The Japanese have it down cold. They're not like, I want this product. They're like, I want to own the understanding of how this mechanism works. And then from that, we could get a product. So there are private companies that are like deep into basic research. And that's kind of the distinction I'm making. And, but not in America. No American companies are providing grants like that.
All right, so Dorito is backing me on the Martin Luther King Jr. thing. Dorito saw it, and it's just sort of like 1 minute the Martin Luther King Jr. thing was there.
And like that, he's gone.
There you go. That was the Martin Luther King Jr. thing. All right. We got a couple super chats. I'm going to hit those. It looks like the crazy is starting to taper off. I don't want to tempt fate here or anything like that, but let's get to the super chats. 199. Gulf of Darien sounds better, and Trumpic Ocean. That's actually pretty good. I like that. Thank you, Darren Vaughn. Also, another $4.99. I voted for him, but I don't think he will do all he says. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yes, he will. Okay, let's see. And then $2, Sinister Porpoise. Shaka, When the Walls Fell, Nick. Sinister Porpoise, thank you so much. You are my favorite. Temba, His Arms Open. I think we do have one more. Oh dear. Let me just double check on this. I think this is, we may have to break out the stickers again. Okay. So this is going to be a little complicated. I want everyone here to pay close attention. There are some people who have been spreading lies that at one point Trump did not invent Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and that Trump did, that false, and that it was Ronald Reagan. And those lies are so complex that they actually said that they wanted you to go back and change it, and then that it vanished. The Trump memorandum just vanished and suddenly didn't exist anymore, and that we went back to saying that it was Ronald Reagan. This is how complicated that lie is. Now, today you will be getting another sticker that says that the Trump memo, or the Trump executive order, was issued once by Trump. It was not corrected. It was never published. It never came back down, edited, and then was republished again. None of that ever happened. It has always been Donald J. Trump, one executive memo, making this Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So once again, folks, thanks be to Trump, who has just now, for the first time, made today, actually for the third, I guess, made today Martin Luther King Jr.
Double think.
I think you have it all wrong, Jim.
Commander, what?
I think you have it all wrong. I think what really happened is Trump is the one who first started it, and then he retroactively went back with his time machine and told Reagan to start it early because it was so important. And now he's giving credit to Reagan because, while it was his idea, it was Reagan who officially instituted it.
I agree. I like that one. Regardless, the Trump order declaring today an official holiday, a federal holiday, it has been revised and is once again back up. I'm not going to read the revised version. I honestly don't care. I just can't believe that we are once again. And we do have the Restoring Names That Honor American Greatness memo, executive action. So we already went over one of them. Renaming of Mount McKinley. We already went over why Alaska's senator was against that. He wants to bring that back. Gulf of America. The area formerly known as Gulf of Mexico has long been an integral asset to our once burgeoning nation, and remains an incredible part of America. The Gulf is home to vibrant American fisheries, yada, yada, yada. The Gulf is a vital region for multi-billions of U.S. maritime industry, which is why we were going to deregulate oil drilling in the Gulf, because Deepwater Horizon was nothing compared to what... Oh, sorry.
This is so reminiscent of the silly attempt that was engaged in to change the name of the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Gulf because they didn't want to give Iran credit for that being their body of water.
Okay, so it is now a technical. I think he has the power to rename these things. So I do think it is now officially.
It's not going to get any traction anywhere.
Well, it's like everybody still calls Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have learned this already. And of course, of all the things to, it's a great thing to go, what the hell are you doing? But I really don't give a shit about the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico. Nobody's going to call it the Gulf of America. It may be some publications will say Gulf of America on it from now on. You know, people are still going to call it Denali. People are still going to call it the Gulf of Mexico. And really, with everything else, I just shut that one. I don't care.
Yeah. So this is
calling Twitter still. How long do you guys think it's going to take for the Elon MAGA to get at war with the Steve Bannon MAGA? Because some of these, like
that's already started.
Seem to run the gamut between things Elon would dig and things Elon would hate, and things that Bannon would dig and things that Bannon would hate, and the two of them are at odds.
Well, I have to ask, how many people think that the Trump-Musk alliance is going to last more than a couple of months? I mean,
yeah.
Musk has a lot of money that he's willing to give Trump. So that might only, that allure might only last for 3 months.
Yeah, but the other thing is, he's such a narcissist. He needs to have himself.
Which we're talking about, two narcissists.
Both.
So I know, but I'm talking primarily about the orange one. Gotcha. He really needs to be the front and center focus of all attention. And every time Musk stands up and says or does anything, he takes it away from him. And it's particularly when people keep referring to President Musk, it grates on his nerves enormously. And if you just keep that going for another month or two, he'll be flushed.
Yeah, but Elon Musk is so thin-skinned that he would just turn on Trump, don't you think?
Gee, what a tragedy that would be.
Boy, I would hate to have a bucket full of popcorn for that.
You need several dump truck loads of popcorn.
I'll do you better. I'll go down to the popcorn factory and I'll load the trailer up with pallets of it. We can set up a projector in some place warmer than here.
You're a good man, Zandri.
You're on the East Coast.
We shall sit down and enjoy the show.
Oh yes. Oh yes, we will.
All right. So we're already seeing some effects. Trump has ordered an executive order investigating all of Biden's family and the Biden administration. He also apparently now, while his order
will be an impartial investigation. Let's be clear.
Yes. The order on birthright citizenship, I hadn't considered this. While he can't actually enforce it or make it legal, it does prohibit federal agencies from issuing certain documents that would normally be provided to a U.S. citizen. So, I don't know whether that means birth certificates or not. I don't know whether that means passports or not. But it appears as if that this is going to cause some complications. I think it's CNN has has a fact sheet that seems to say that federal agencies will be barred from providing documents that they would otherwise provide citizens born in the U.S. So I don't know how that's going to pan out. The other interesting one is he's signed. I don't know why he's got 3 or 4 of these. Somebody may be able to fill me in on this. He's got another one designating cartels and other organizations, terrorist organizations, specially designated global terrorists. So he says
that's indicative of a lot of different people wrote up these kind of like a wish list of executive actions that they wanted to take, and he probably said, "Lay them on me," and just started signing. So we're probably getting lots of duplicates.
Well, and I think they each appear to be escalating. So this one lists several by name: Tren de Arruga, La Mara, Salvarcha, MS-13, which I've heard of, TDA. He's mentioned a couple others in other ones, but he appears to be escalating. This one says that in certain portions of Mexico, these are quasi-governmental entities. And I think by saying that, again, I think he's preparing to say it's not an invasion of Mexico. If it's run by the cartels, the Mexican government doesn't have jurisdiction. The cartel's activities threaten the safety of Americans, security of the U.S., the stability of the international order in the Western Hemisphere. Let's see. He names the organizations. The cartels and other transnational organizations operate both within and outside the U.S. I declare them a national emergency under the IEEPA, to deal with the threats. It is the policy of the United States to ensure the total elimination of these organizations' presence in the United States and their ability to threaten territory, safety, and security of the U.S. through extraterritorial command and control structures, thereby protecting American people and the territorial integrity of the U.S. He's asking the Secretary of State to consult with the Secretary of the Treasury, the Attorney General, Homeland Secretary, National Intelligence, to make a recommendation on how to eliminate the cartels or other organizations as described in Section 1, and within 14 days shall take such all appropriate action in consultation with each other and invoke the Alien Enemies Act. I don't know what that is, in relation to the existence of qualifying invasion or predatory incursion against the territory of the United States. So he's basically saying that we've already been invaded by them. They are their own quasi-governments. So I suspect what he's saying is that we can invade back, but I would defer to Lance on this one, who I think could understand this language somewhat better than I.
I don't think it really matters. I think he's going to do whatever or is going to try to do whatever he wants, regardless of what the statutes state. So, yeah, and if you look at it, the IEEPA is strictly economic.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so, I mean, arguably, this is his justification for the complete embargo on goods from Mexico or something, should he want to go that far, to pressuring Mexico into doing whatever it is he wants.
That makes a lot of sense.
Cartels have weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah, exactly. It's just Trumpian BS.
All right, so we do have a tutorial here that I think will help a number of people. Let me see if I can get this in here. So, and I want to make sure. All right, so for everybody, thank you, Dorito, for this tutorial, and we'll just put this up. This should make everyone's life easier. I know it's been a long and hectic day. So this is what we need to be doing here. So if it just, there you go. Okay. Done. All right. What I'm going to do is a new act guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion. I'm going to read this. I don't think this is anything new. So what I'd like to do is start heading towards a wrap-up. Like I said, he is slated to sign about 100 of these. The big one for him was leaving the World Health Organization. I think we've covered all the big ones. I don't think there are any big ones left. Everything I'm seeing has to do with the cartels. This one, guaranteeing the state's protection against invasion, is not the cartels. It is a process, a uniform rule of naturalization. And he expects to have this replace birthright citizenship so that you actually have to become naturalized somehow. Having said that, a naturalized citizen can't be president of the United States. So that's why Arnold Schwarzenegger, despite being a citizen, he was naturalized, so he could never run for presidential office. So what this ostensibly would mean, if I'm understanding this, is we would never be able to have another president going forward in this. And now, obviously, you could do the rule of law doesn't matter. Brooks was right. Up is down. Down is left. Up is. I have no idea anymore. So, any final thoughts as we start to wrap this up? We may get one or two more. I'm going to keep an eye out, but I think we get the gist of what we're seeing. So, I would like to start with His Holiness, the Dr. Reverend Christopher Mowdy, Esquire, and see if you have anything that you would like to say about what we've seen tonight, or what you think is going on. You've already given a pretty good. Feel free to reiterate what What are your final thoughts?
Well, what I'm going to do, and what I suggest of others, is to, over the next week, pay attention to how the news is reporting what Trump is doing, with the understanding that by the next week, we might hear something completely different that we wouldn't have paid. Whoa, I just dropped a book. That we wouldn't have paid attention to if we weren't so distracted. Right? Like I said, I don't think that this is politics as usual. I don't think it's political news that should be followed as political news, because that means that you trust the things that are coming out of people's mouths as things that they're going to do. And Trump has hacked that system. He says things that he's going to do in a fire hydrant fashion where he takes every single side possible in the same sentence, and people think that it's wonderful. So he's gaming the system. He's free riding our government by putting it through a stress test. And this time he knows what he's doing and is surrounded by people who also know what he's doing. So that's my take on it. Like the individual things that he signed tonight, if they are reported in detail, I think that's doing a disservice to the citizenry.
All right. Isandering, any final thoughts?
I was very disappointed we didn't get the executive order declaring Canada the 51st state and Greenland a territory of the United States.
The night is young.
Invading Panama.
The night is young. Yeah, maybe we should wait. No,
I knew I should have kept those invasion plans from back then. You know, the just cause. It's important.
Only
You just dust them off.
This is why, you know what, folks, you need to stick around. You need to stick around, and you need to watch from show to show to show, because people who know what Lance used to do for a living for the U.S. government, for the military, know exactly what he's talking about. But you have to have watched a few shows. Oh dear Lord. Okay, yeah, you failed us. Anyways. That's the other thing is I've decided I'm going to get for my set background a plushy hippopotamus, a purple plushy hippopotamus. Just leave that in the background. But anyways, so any other final thoughts other than you lament not having? Are we still in NATO? That's a good question. I'll let you know.
What is?
Yeah,
I've never heard of NATO.
I've never heard of NATO. What NATO?
Those stickers are coming in the mail.
You'll be told what to think shortly. Just hang on.
That was good.
Any other final thoughts, Lance?
No, it's just. I think Nowdy's got it correct. I think this is a case of throw the large bowl of wet spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Just keep lather, rinse, repeating to see what does every time. And eventually he'll get what he wants. I think that's the way to do it for him, because people will gradually begin to lose interest in the insanity, and important stuff will trickle through, and we won't even know it's being done.
To address Ollie in the live chat, Ollie, we have to make fun of the integrity of Canadians because the U.S. has no integrity, and whereas we have no integrity, there isn't really a lot to mock on our side. So it's just one of those things where, apologies. Is Andrew any final thoughts?
I'm mentally exhausted with all of this. I'm going to go back to werewolves and vampires and close this particular show out, surprisingly, with a different quote. They passed down all the roads long ago, and the Red Bull followed closely behind and covered their footprints.
Oh.
That from Boop.
We're not going to get the Oracle in here with that. So I'm gonna do one final. Okay, so Trump is now, Cuba has been reinstated as a state sponsor of terrorism, and Trump has ordered the Pentagon to plan to move troops to support the border mission. So again, it's what we said earlier. It's just going to be more of the same, I think, for the rest of the night. If there really is something big, what I'm going to do is, Lance said I could call him anytime, day or night, even 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. So that's oh, you're still here.
The mail, Nick.
Sticker. I'm going to get one of those stickers too. Okay. Mowdy said that then, right?
Yeah. Must be.
We'll if something really big comes up, I'm not anticipating. I mean, I'm looking at it. I'm already seeing things we can make fun of and go, oh dear Lord, but nothing. Again, there's 100 he's going to sign through tonight, and I think he's done the big ones. So thank you all for joining us. What? Were you going to say something, Sandra? No, that's just me. That's my psychosis again on the MLK thing. Lance is a trooper. Yeah, he's everybody here tonight. Thank you all. So first of all, thank you to all the mods. You've been working your tails off. Special thanks to Dorito. We lost Titan there for a little while. Dorito took over and has been doing a spectacular job and keeping me up to date on a whole bunch of stuff. And then I'd also like to thank our panelists. That includes our panelists from earlier, Brooks, who I think did an amazing job, Commander Lance McMillan, Isandering Person, and Dr. Reverend Christopher Mowdy, Esquire. I think I forgot one there. And the Oracle.
He's got to be a field marshal.
Field Marshal, Dr. Reverend Commander Christopher Mowdy.
𝐒𝐸 Amin's title, something like that.
All right. Well, if we're giving out titles, my official title is going to be Dragon Rider, Isandering Person.
Ooh.
I'm going to stay out of titles because I have a feeling other people are going to feel entitled to just give me one, and I don't think I'm going to like any that I'm going to be assigned. So I'm just moving. This is what the credits button is for. Thank you all. It's been a great night, and thank you to everyone who super chatted as well. It really does help. Please like, subscribe, and stay with us. We're going to be covering. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, months, and years. Have a good night, all.